As a young person, there were a lot of people who contributed to my success in school, and this is a way that I can give back to young people. Well, in high school, my audio video production instructor, the class was then called broadcasting, was Mr. Bethel. And Mr. Bethel opened up several doors for me. My junior year going into my senior year, over the summer, I was able to have a radio show just from being in his class, the skills that I had developed. And I had a 3-hour show with a Mr. Freddie Henderson, who also worked in radio. And they knew each other, and from Mr. Bethel, my teacher's relationship with Mr. Henderson, I was able to gain those skills. If it was not for him reaching out to Mr. Henderson, who worked at that radio station, I would have never had that opportunity on those Saturdays to run my own show. I don't think there's any way possible I could be where I am right now if it wasn't for Mr. Bethel. It was because of Mr. Bethel that I was able to hone the natural talent that I had. He gave me a platform. Mr. Bethel was someone who cared about you inside the classroom and outside the classroom. My life is a perfect example of that. I pay it forward now, and I'm looking for more opportunities for my students to get exposure.
Mr. CJ he's a really good person to have in my life, as in like, he's taught me a lot over the past 3 years, but he's definitely opened my eyes in that perspective, and I more than definitely want to pursue somewhat of a career in editing films or just any type of audio.
I definitely feel like me being a black male educator and the way I relate to the students helps me allow them to open up to me.
It definitely makes it a lot easier to relate to Mr. CJ because it's kind of give off like a father figure. It feels easier to talk to him and just to connect on a level.
I believe teaching at a Title I school is definitely an act of social justice because I went to a private liberal arts college and I volunteered at a rural white school. I was able to see a lot of things that those students were getting and the resources that they were getting that students in my neighborhood may not necessarily be getting. I feel like being here, having some of those ideas, being aware of injustices in our society, being able to use public service announcements to help the kids address some of those that they may see, by me empowering them with the tools to create and to share, they have an opportunity to change the world. They have an opportunity to do something about the things that they see in the world that aren't necessarily right.
He's constantly telling me to keep pushing forward, and he's just like a really motivating person in my life. And I get inspired by him a lot, and it just like constantly keeps me going.
I am an upstander. I'm going to stand up for the underdog, not only the one that looks like me, but the one who has no one else to stand up for them. It's important to me because someone had to stand up for me in my life so that I could take honors classes, so that I could be in an optional program, so that I could get on the city bus from the Goodwill Village to Springdale, which is down the street on Hollywood, every morning. Someone in my neighborhood had to look out for me to make sure that I got to the bus stop. Someone at my school had to look out for me to make sure that I got my education. I want to look out for the kids as well.
He's done so much for me. As in, like, I know that he cares about me a lot because he's putting like so much time and effort into me. Mr. CJ will quite literally go beyond the limits of like a normal teacher. Like, Mr. CJ will not give up on you at all. And he's probably one of like the best teachers I've like ever known.